So we got with the team, their first reaction was, yeah, we can have something like that to you in August. This was like April, you know. And we said, no, how about 2 weeks from now? What can you give us in 2 weeks? You know, we're not asking the whole thing. Well, after the initial heart attacks and stuff, you know, they said, well, we can do this. And I said, well, that's cool, let's do that. And so then Jeff on my team, you know, would spend a lot of time with them in between to make sure that they, you know, they were getting the right thing. The problem is the way the teams had worked internally at PayPal, they'd work just like that in a very non-lean manner. They would work agile. They would have stories, they'd have backlogs, they'd have grooming, they'd have agile coaches and scrums and all that. But they were treating us just like, you know, we'd done with the PayPal customers. We'd go off in the dark for a while and come back. And so we started this process with them. Since we're doing a lean project, let's make them be lean with us. And so we did that, and they got in the rhythm, and they love it now. I mean, they're really incredible partner now. They're jumping out ahead of us and coming up with great ideas, and they've just been really set free. But we actually got the capability once we had the 2.3 version. We had early drops of it all the time. We could actually drag and drop the UI bits from here to here. So this gave us kind of an interesting ability that I hadn't been able to do before. Was as we're in that lean UX track, we could actually write all the UI code, take the node layer here, using Express, for example, as one of our modules, and do all of our you know, our flow routing and controller logic and stuff like that. Over here, we change it so the controllers all return JSON, and the Webflow return JSON endpoints, and it also handled Dust. Now the problem is, whatever you write here, you got to rewrite here. But that's the Java engineers doing that, so I'm not too worried about it. They need a job anyway. At this point in time, eventually we want to totally go to this, right? But it turned out to be a really good in-between state for us. Now there are some problems where you know you know, it's not always as clean, you know, going from here to here. Sometimes there's issues, but we've ironed those out over time. But it's been an interesting thing to make the UI bits. They can run the client or the server. Since it's JavaScript, you don't always have to render it here for the template. You can render it in the browser. So if you're trying to build more of an app, you don't want to like do, you know, requests for every page. You know, you're in a mobile app, let's say. You want to feel more native, you can do those Ajax. You already got what you need. You get Ajax for JSON. Married with your template, execute your JavaScript in the client. Married with the JSON, you get your rendering there on the client, and it feels much more responsive. So that was a big trick for us, was to make our UI bits portable. And part of the story of how we, you know, feel like we were able to get to a very fast iteration cycle and still utilize all this production stack. This also was a forcing function to guarantee that the UI and the you know, the data layers and the control layers were separated and clean in the separation, in which they weren't before. Because the vision was you create this Sparta, you know, this Java application framework, you put all your bits in here, you know, you write out all in Java, JSP, you try to get away from doing anything in it. In fact, at one point, the earlier version of this, like the 1 point something, this will blow your mind. They took Java server faces, JSF, and they did another variation on it they called DSF. Well, the D was not dumb, I don't know. But to write, listen, you're not going to believe this, I'm going to say it real slow to you. To write JavaScript, you had to write it all in Java. To write HTML, you had to write it all in Java. To write CSS, you had to write it all in Java. I'm not making this up. This was eBay's framework they came out with and rolled it out to PayPal. This is where I got there. Many of the developers said, I'm quitting. I'll turn my resignation in tomorrow. We will not have this in it, and it got dumped. And that's when the JSP thing came in, right? So they'd already gone through this thing of, they created this, you know, Java monstrosity. Then they had JSP. Then I used to arrive on the scene and say, well, JSPs that's like 10 years ago. I'm yawning, you know. So you can imagine. So I had to figure out a way to bridge this, right? How do I still let JSP live? You know, we can have a tag and have, you know, Dust templates and all that. I think it's a good lesson is that, you got to respect an organization. It can't change overnight. You need to figure out bridging. You need to put your engineering hat on and say, all right, here's where my arc is. Here's where I want to go. How do I get there? See, I'm not there yet because right now I have to still deliver the bits down into this Sparta world and get it all packaged with it and go through its release cycle. But because my bits are all JavaScript and CSS, they can live on a CDN. I could set an origin server here in this Java app world. It could point to that, right? Or I could pull it from the browser. And once I've got it on the CDN, then I can have my own release cycle, right? And we've even taken it further that as we investigate on how to best do our marketing pushes, because marketing pages change really fast. And before it would take 6 weeks from the time you changed a word on a marketing page. 6 weeks. 6 weeks. Can you imagine a marketing team before it went live on the site? A one-word change. Now you could get exceptions, but they were really, really hard. And you could do it faster than that, but it was typically 6 weeks. So what we went to was we actually now use GitHub as our whole management system for our content, if you will. So all of our templates, our Dust templates, our HTML fragments, our CSS or JavaScript, our localization, all this stuff is in directory paths and such. And if it gets pushed to the right, if you do your git, push the code to the right repo that's for production, the stuff goes live immediately because you're just pushing out that, and you can roll back using the versioning system of GitHub. This is similar to what the various Node Cloud frameworks do. Joyent does this, and I think Jitsu and some of the others. So it's using GitHub as your beyond just setting it up for pushing, but actually out there in the environment, and gives you great visibility into rollbacks and everything else. So we did that for the marketing pages, and now the Sparta team is like, that's freaking cool. We're gonna do that for all the stuff. So all the stuff's going that way, which is really, really neat. So it's really fun to see how just a little bit of innovation, starts catching on like a nice little virus and disease. People start getting addicted to this way. And I was talking to a product manager the other day on one of our projects that I helped kick off, and I said, Cam, how's it going on the merchant onboarding? He goes, oh, it's just fantastic. This is so much fun. I said, could you ever do it another way? He says, no way. We'll always, it's like, he wants designers, engineers with a room with him. And we've got full converts now, people who, before it's like this is totally foreign, I'm convinced that really most people will not fight working this way once they can taste it. But we led this. It was UI engineering that led this, that made this happen at PayPal. We were the enabler. If we had not done it, it would not have happened. So we have this amazing power, bringing design to life to really change an organization. Now, fortunately, PayPal, has been in the right place at the right time to want to change. And again, I want to reserve the thing that the ultimate arbitrator, whether we really changed, will be our customers. So, I don't want to speak before term because that's who makes the decision. The good thing is if we do this right, continue to do it right, we don't mind failing because we learn. And we'll get it right if we can iterate fast enough. If we can learn fast enough and change fast enough, we can't help but get it right. If you get just smart people in the room, you don't have to be even that brilliant, right? We can do it because our competitors are certainly going to do it. So here's some of the requirements I thought of for the lean stack, as I thought about how do we make it so we can move real fast, independent of the back-end language. Now, your mileage may vary, and some people I know choose things like JSP or other kinds of things like that. Now, I would argue that those aren't good choices, okay? And the reason I argue that is because you've tied yourself to a language. Right now, I don't mind tying myself to JavaScript because I know JavaScript can run on the server. I know it can run on the client, but we know that Java runs like crap in a browser, right? Applets never made it and never will, right? So if I have JavaScript bits, I take my template, compile it down to JavaScript, I can run that on the server, I can run that on the client. And I don't care what your back-end language is. So it has to be independent of the back-end language. It needs to be flexible enough to run either way because sometimes I'm more page-based, sometimes I'm more app-based. I need the flexibility. I need to be equally good at building websites as web applications. I need to have the published model, and this is something I started preaching when I got there, was we need to get away from a push kind of model to a publish model. Now, I don't mean that too literally because, get, you push and stuff like that, but what I was trying to get people to get away from, the push meant code push meant 6-week, kind of cycle. Publish is like you would do on marketing. So when I explained this, they're like, wait, you want to do product like that? I said, well, I want the UI bits, and eventually I want, you get down to the node layer. Once we're running Node in production for our applications, I want the controller logic to be able to be the same way because it's just JavaScript bits too, right? I can change that on the fly, and if I break something, I can roll it back really fast. So I don't, and I can do it in minimal impact because I don't have to roll out to everybody. I can have some control over that. Of course, cleanly separated from the back end, utilizing what is common to developers. Wonderful story. Mark Stewart joined an organization from State Farm, a smart developer. I really love his attitude. He started on a Monday. They went through orientation. His manager sat down with him and said, okay, well, you got a choice to get you started up on the checkout team. That's the team he got hired into. You can, we can put you on the replatforming effort that's using the Sparta framework, the stack as it existed at the time. To do that, we'll send you to 3 weeks worth of training. And then on the 4th week, you can start, developing, some of the code. We also have this other thing going on where the team's using Node, and I'm there. He didn't have to get much further than that. So Tuesday morning, he showed up, had never used Dust, he used Mustache or whatever, or Handlebars. In 4 hours, he was checking in code. That was so exciting, man. When I told our president that, he came down and said, I want to meet you. He said, you're our poster boy for the new PayPal. Because before, in April, who leads our checkout, was telling me before, when she first got there from Yahoo, she was blown away because it was like a 4-month cycle before you were allowed to actually check in code in the checkout project. You had to go through all this stuff, right? And now we've gone to 4 hours. Just incredible difference, right? Now that kind of thing you can build, test, learn, but the other you can't. I mean, is it any wonder PayPal's experiences absolutely have sucked? I mean, if it takes you that long to start coding, we had a guy who had been there maybe 6 or 8 months. He came to my boss at the time and said, Nat, he said, I'm going to quit. He says, no, you're really great. He says, I've been here 6 months and I've hardly written any code. That's what I like doing. All I do is file tickets. It takes 37 tickets to fix a bug, That creates crappy software. It's just like this is not rocket science, folks. To be able to even build a good experience would be, insane.